This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 454, prepping for wheeling season.
Tonight, Aaron goes to Memorial, Coy experiences the cataclysmic power of the eclipse, and Ben talks about his new rig.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, Coy, and my name is Ben. And welcome to the Off-Road Podcast. Coy, I've got hair about this cataclysmic power that you experienced.
Well,
You're really quiet, Ben.
Was I really quiet?
you were just off the
Yeah,
mic.
you're.
That's fine.
I think you're off the mic. Yes.
I was obviously satire since we're going out live now. Or way less people got raptured than they actually said at first. Like maybe it is a lot harder to get to heaven than we think, and none of us made it.
Only
And we
like
just,
3 people
there's
in
so
it.
few that we haven't heard about it yet. It's possible.
It's very possible.
I mean, even if it was easier, I wasn't expecting to go. But no, it was cloudy here. A bunch of people at work like, oh, we're still going to get 30% in Oregon. It's going to be awesome. And it didn't have the power to move clouds. So just saying. I've noticed that the moon has the power to move the entire ocean around, but all the clouds in Oregon that are like filled with water doesn't move those at all. I'm not obviously a scientist, but I find it fishy. Not a flat earth guy either, but I'd like someone to explain why the clouds don't move for me with the moon. So should be some kind of tidal situation there. It makes sense if you think about it and you're completely uneducated like me.
It's the government and they're hydro seeding the clouds.
Obviously, it's something they didn't put in the hologram that's above us, and then they need a program title, weather tidal movement.
That could be.
Aaron, I think you had a much more exciting weekend than me because I didn't really get up to much other than prepare for the apocalyptic lunar eclipse.
Yeah. So, I can't remember. I think I mentioned that I got my truck back, but I know I didn't tell you guys this part. So the guy's shop who I had it at, he's the shop that I did my engine swap at, which is in the middle of town, my little one flashing light town. And so I dropped it off with him Sunday night. He had it for a few days. And before he welded the exhaust back together, I'm guessing he used a cell phone, but he had a decibel meter and he ran the decibel meter by the exhaust. And he said it was 116 decibels before he put things together. He revved the motor a bunch of times. And about 5 minutes later, one of the local cops comes by and says, "Was that you revving the engine?" And he said, yeah, that was me. He's like, "I heard you all the way over by the Catholic church," which is like 4 blocks away, across town. 4 blocks is across town for us. So that made me feel a little good that it caught the attention of the local police department with how loud the exhaust was. So 116 decibels. After he was done, it was 92 decibels, which is still pretty loud. I believe in Chump Car and other crap can racing, I think 95 decibels was the max you could be on racetracks.
96, yeah.
96.
It's usually 96. I don't know about Chump, but like it's generally most of the racing series I'm aware of 96. So yeah, you're good to go.
Good to go. Ready to race.
92 decibels. That's like Dodge Caravan levels. It's kind of wussy now, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric, loud pipes save lives. So in the tonight, Aaron goes to a memorial. This past weekend, I was down in Florence, Oregon, where I did not realize that this famed event took place in that town. Exploding Whale Memorial Park. There's a park in town.
You mean Seaside?
No, this is Florence. I was in Florence.
Apparently, they've blown up a lot of whales on the Oregon coast, and apparently
it's possible. We might have to do some Google foo, but that's where this park was. was in Florence, Oregon, the Exploding Whale Memorial Park. So if you don't know about it, back in the day, some giant whale beached itself, and they thought the best way to dispose of its rotting carcass was to dynamite it, and it like blew up into giant chunks. Some pieces fell down. One hit the news reporter in the head. Another one like smashed a car. So that's just a little tidbit
saying
in history.
Florence, Oregon, 1970.
There you go.
I like that it completely and utterly crushed a Cadillac. Like,
They don't make them like they used to.
I've talked about this so many times with my friends, but you absolutely know there was just, since I work construction, I have a feeling that this is how it went. Like, they're like, all these people are there, and since the beach is technically highway, the road department was there, and all these talking heads were like, hey, how do we get rid of this whale? And there was some grizzly construction worker in the back, like, put 12 cases of dynamite under it and just blow it up. And he kind of said it is sarcasm, and then a bunch of button-up white shirts turned down. I'm like, that's a great idea. And he went, oh my God, I can do this. And he just went with it, because there's no way that anyone should believe that's a good idea, especially somebody who knows how to use dynamite. Like,
Nick says, I'm betting the Cadillac drove out of there. So there's a good probability.
I wish we had the time to look it up. It's pretty flat. It was like a 700-pound piece of blubber that landed on it from the upper atmosphere. Like,
all right. Well, the last part was after I picked my truck up from my buddy. I turned around and I brought my off-road camp trailer to him, and he was going to be welding up a little hitch on the back. Here's a picture. We cut up in the bumper, torched it open, slid a receiver into it so I can put like a bike rack on the back. So here I've got it kind of painted up with some primer, getting ready to clean it the rest of the way, and then we'll get a good coat of paint on it. And when I dropped it off to him, I was just crawling around underneath it, and I noticed this crack in the frame. So I've got, in this photo, you can see it's ground clean so we can weld it up, but I've got like an A-frame tongue on this trailer, which you'll see in another picture. And then I noticed another crack. This is on the tongue. So my tongue is actually two pieces. I didn't have a full length piece of metal. That's a 4x4 square tube, and it's 1/4-inch wall. And that's where it was welded together. So apparently my welds didn't hold after 8 years of abuse. So he welded it up. Here's some pictures of everything welded up. Then I ground the welds down, and then we plated over top of it. So got her. She's good to go now. And
nice to see that it you guys reinforced it too afterwards.
Yep. I'm dragging it to South Dakota. So had I not caught that, I probably would have lost a trailer coming to or from South Dakota. So
I'm kind of surprised you didn't do any plug welds with it too.
Yeah.
Just extra strength.
Yeah. I think it'll be fine with those plates on there. So there's a lot of weld there. Those are really thick plates. So it should be good. And yeah. And so I also, on the very front of it, it takes a lot of abuse from the gravel and the dirt. So I sanded the front of that down, and I've got that primered up at the same time. So that's what's going on in this picture. So anyways, going to get a little bit of paint job on that trailer when probably this week. Hopefully next week I can tell you that I did that.
Nice.
So Ben, how about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I made it back alive from Montana, and I guess I should come clean because I got messages personally on Facebook and a few phone calls of what happened to my Toyota. And apparently I have played the best April Fool's prank ever. If you can guess.
How many of those people were like, thank God this finally happened. This is a blessing in disguise, Ben. You're going to be able to upgrade from this. Yeah. Like when those fake breakup posts and they call up and be like, I never liked your girlfriend. And you're like, yeah, it was a joke. Oh, I mean, I do. I was just
Nope. I played a really good joke. We actually did take the minivan. And I don't think I shared on the show that my son actually switched out the shocks, the rear shocks on it. Thank you, Badlands. I helped him because
Okay, good.
I'm not trusting an 11-year-old to switch out shocks, but
By himself.
by himself, yes.
Yeah.
No,
I want to just cut you off for a quick second. Yesterday, I had my son replace the toilet seat on his toilet, specifically because I did not want to be the one down there loosening the nuts, and it took quite a while to replace the toilet seat. So I can imagine replacing shocks on a minivan.
yeah. It didn't actually only took us about an hour and a half. I get you. I get you. No, not going Nissan yet. But I did actually have a close encounter with the deer. And that's why I switched to elk. Yes, Travis, you did call it.
Oh, Travis called it. He knew our show last week was an April Fool's show.
Yeah.
He saw right through it.
Had you listened all the way to the end, you would have gotten that the whole show was a joke. I came up last minute. I think it was the night before. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna say I hit a deer. And then I was like, you know what? Deer's not good enough for this one. It's got to be an elk. So
I still think you should have went with a bison. I mean, it's a little spicier.
Yeah.
Though I probably would have needed some black eyes for that one. It was gonna be big. Honestly, if it was an elk and if it would have gotten its horns through the rack through the windshield, that would have sucked. But anyways, so came back from Montana, spent time with family. Then we went to Miller Sylvania State Park and did some camping as a family. It was a little muddy because it was raining. Our campsite, where you see this mud puddle right here, was completely flooded along with the back half of my campsite. But we had 3 sites because we had friends and family there. So we used another site for our fires and stuff. So bonfires and all that. We were celebrating my birthday, which is today. I'm an old person now. So I'm a whole 12 years old now, guys. Or at least it feels like it.
And a half.
Yeah, 12 and a half.
Well, yeah, happy, like I said earlier, happy birthday, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
I'm glad you survived another year.
Yep, I survived another year.
It's a shocker that you survived, but
it is quite shocking. I'm amazed every day I wake up. But how the intro went with talking about my new rig, I did notice something really surprising and really happy because my rig does feel like a new rig with that tune. I got 13.5 miles per gallon coming home. So I drove to Miller, Sylvania, and I got like 12 and a half miles per gallon and 13 and a half coming back because I was coming down hills. And then I only had one to crawl up. And I got like 14 and a half total, or no, 13 and a half total for the trip. And I'd gone back and forth to Bonnie Lake once because I had to go to a soccer game. So I'm happy with my tune. No struggling on the hill.
What do you normally get?
Before the tune, I was getting 10.
Did you tow a trailer?
With the trailer. I was getting 10 with the trailer. So
then you're up to
I'm
12,
up to
13 with the trailer now.
12, 13 with the trailer, yeah. And I'm averaging about 13 and a half, 14.2.
I like how everybody's like, oh, I went and bought this little Toyota instead of this full-size Ford diesel because it just got such horrible mileage. I got like 19 miles per gallon in my Ford. And then they buy Toyota and then they put 33s on it. Then they get 12 miles a gallon. Like,
yeah,
I've known like 20 guys that did that. I was like, oh, yeah, it's so much cheaper than driving your full size, isn't it?
way cheaper. Yeah.
Way cheaper. Yeah, but I'm really happy with it. I just more reasons to get a tune if you haven't got one. So yeah, But we got some listener feedback here. Luke C wrote in. We talked about this briefly last week, but we had to save it so that they got real feedback, not April Fool's feedback. I'm wanting to build my 2018 F-150 for Wheeling, but I'm not sure where to start, and I'm looking for some pointers on how to get started. So I was reading it. I
Lift
read
the
that.
front, drop the rear.
No, do not donk it. So I've got some questions. What type of wheeling do you want to do? I personally wouldn't go above a 3-inch lift because that's when you're chopping cross members and all that. So go just for a 3-inch suspension lift. Icon, Radflow, Fox, and I'm trying to think. BDS, I think, makes all make 3-inch lifts. You can go with some Deaver rear springs instead of a spacer spring or an Atta leaf. I think they're Deavers or AAC. Is that the name of the other leaf company? There's another company that makes
There's
leaf.
Alcan is one of the names, but I don't.
Yeah, Alcan. There we go.
Yeah.
I knew it started with an A. So you could go with a full leaf pack instead of going the route of an Atta leaf. If you want to go that route, it depends upon your budget. Shoot us some messages, and then I'll do like a follow up feedback with you with this on air. But I would go 3 inches of lift, and it kind of depends upon where you want to go, what you want to do on your build. I go lift wheels, tires, and then depending upon what you're doing, are you overlanding? Are you wanting to try and do some harder rock crawling stuff? Which personally, I wouldn't really recommend for an F-150.
Chuck's got the budget build here. He's suggesting Super Duty axles, lockers, speed locks, 42s, gears, 4-link, and coilovers. So that's probably about the cheapest way to do it. So I don't know if you really want to go on the cheap route.
Yeah.
I'm going to be totally honest. Both Ben's idea and Chuck's, great builds.
Yeah. It really just comes to what you want to do.
But when it comes down to it, I don't care what you're building it for. Bigger tire equal better. So we get ourselves, let's put all our money in 37-inch tires. You can get a lift level spacer kit and get that thing up there. With just like a 2-inch lift, you can stuff 37s under F-150. You can get some Bushwhacker flares for like $279. Sawzall what you got a Sawzall. Be gentle and nice, as gentle as you can with a Sawzall, I guess. Don't use the cutting torch, is what I'm saying. Maybe a jigsaw. Throw those Bushwhackers on there. Run 37s. Done. Like, what else do you need? And you're into that. The price of a set of tires, 2 or 3 Sawzall blades, and price of Bushwhacker flares, and a Daystar lift level. It's going to be like $89.
I'd throw a can of paint in there just to touch up the.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I would just say another thing is we've got a news article here coming up that you may want to listen to too as an option.
Badlands says get the tube chassis Raptor kit. That's actually one of our news stories this week. Badlands.
It is. But before we get to that, we've got a voicemail. It's very
wait. Somebody from Twitch's handle is "Can you burp on command?" Yes, I can.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Hey,
he says that's weak. That's amazing.
You didn't ask if I could do a good one. You said if I could. All right. I have answered the parameters.
All right.
Voicemail time.
We got a voicemail, and this one's a doozy, guys.
Hello, this is George Vandelay. I am calling from Benjamin, Dover, and Tackett. We're a law firm that represents a number of major vehicle manufacturers, and oddly enough, Taco Bell. We're calling about your show that you aired on, the 1st of April. We had a guest on named Andy. We're asking, we're pursuing a retention of records for that show. It seems that this Andy guy shared some proprietary photos of some vehicles and products that we are planning to come out with, and or that these manufacturers are planning to come out with, and they were not to be shared. We've taken care of it on our end. There's been a number of terminations, and we are now working on a lawsuit for industrial espionage. So I suggest you comply with our requests, unless you would like to lose all the money that you make by producing this show. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Joke's on you. We make no money.
I would like them to take all the money. Yes. I'll leave the show. I will trade you that episode for all the money.
Yep, all the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, bring it on.
Let's just hit them with a bill for hosting fees. Be like, this is this is actually negative. This is what you're responsible for now.
What if we send them a bill for advertisement? Like,
Yeah.
we were advertising for you. You didn't realize that we were one of the sponsors.
Yeah, you owe
Yeah.
us all the money. So yeah, that was again. I cannot state it enough, but you got to call the spotter hotline. Stuff like that.
Yeah, what's that? What's that phone number?
605
605 spotter.
So yeah, definitely worth it. Do it, and yeah.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
Hey, we from Can You Burp on Command? Best burp wins. They'll donate to the winner. Aaron, you got one in you?
I got nothing. But what I do have is this.
Nope,
month's
I don't got
Patriot
one in there.
Patch. This month's Patriot Patch. It is a Easter themed. We've got Claymore that says "You found me" on it. Some hand painted grenades and some more grenades. There we go. Now we focused.
My
And they've got
daughter's
some.
that patch.
She what?
My daughter's in love with that patch.
Did she take it to school on her backpack?
No. I actually gave her the sticker, so it could end up on something at her school. We'll see. Can you burp on command? Call our hotline 605 spotter. Let's see what you have. All right. Stop trying to talk us into it live. I want to hear yours.
There you go.
Call in.
There we
Show
go.
us what you got. I don't think it's as good as you act.
I tried and I couldn't get anything out. I can't really.
Yeah, I got
Well,
nothing.
I'm
also.
the default winner. Then you have to give me money.
At least enough to pay for Dr. Pepper for Koi. We've got some other Patriot patches that they just dropped. So this one says "Kneel for the cross, stand for the flag." Here's another one called Barrel Burners. So this is some hand loads that apparently someone has put a little too much powder in. Maybe they were having some too much of this. This one says "I'm a neat guy." It's a tumbler that's very full of something that you would have neat. So yeah, check out Patriot Patch. They got some cool stuff.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
I got one in the chamber. There we go.
This episode's going to be almost as explicit as last week.
Glad
Leroy, I
Three-year-olds
love a
here.
milkshake. Colby Valve just brought us the news, so let's do this. This first one is from The Drive, and it is the Ford Transit Trail off-road van recalled because 30-inch tires don't fit. That's kind of hilarious. So fitting larger wheels and tires to our cars, you always run the risk of tire rub. That's why many enthusiasts leave the upgrades to the car makers themselves rather than trying to outsmart them. I don't agree with that at all. I'm not sure who wrote this article. But even OEMs can get it wrong, as in the case of the Ford Transit Trail. As outlined in the NHTSA recall document, Ford opened an investigation upon receiving a complaint from an upfitter. The unnamed company said it knew of 4 instances of its vehicles being taken into dealers with noise complaints, which turned out to be its 30-inch Goodyear Wrangler front tires rubbing on the fender liner and frame.
Ooh, and frame. That is a bad one.
Yeah. It's a common problem with modified cars and vehicles. I bet you all of us have rubbed tires on our vehicles before.
I'm still currently rubbing tire.
You mean
Yeah,
like
there
today?
Exactly. It shouldn't be, though, for factory vehicles. You're supposed to be able to count on automakers to vet this stuff. Nevertheless, Ford performed an engineering evaluation anyways and found the cause was how the Transit was adapted into the trail. Ford discovered that the Transit Trail's front axle is loaded to near its gross weight. When the Transit Trail is loaded to near its gross vehicle weight, there are scenarios that can cause a tire to rub. An example was when under braking with 60% or more of the steering lock applied, you might encounter it. And this can happen in a parking lot or driving down a narrow trail. You'd think Ford wouldn't make this mistake because, they're producing the Raptors and the Broncos and the Rangers and things like that, and Crown Vics on 37s. But it turns out that Ford contracted out the Transit Trail's development to a company that didn't know any better. A vehicle modifier contracted by Ford did not fully account for the front tire envelope and packaging requirements of this application, the recalled document states. Ford said it is determining the exact cause of the tire rub, though it seems obvious. The company warns that unaddressed rub could damage fender liners or even the tires themselves, leading to a loss of pressure and therefore vehicle control. Ford is not aware of any tire damage caused by the oversight yet, but is working on a solution and will notify owners when a recall service is available. So what do you guys think they're going to do? Are they going to do like a budget spacer, like a little 1/4-inch spacer, just to push it down just a little bit more? Or you think they're going to make people put 29s on?
I think what they'll do is they'll grab a heat gun and mold that fender liner a little more.
Well, but it's rubbing on the frame.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good question. Maybe new wheels?
It's a tough one because if they add a spacer, don't they kind of have to go through like all the wreck and like rollover? So I almost think they add a new front spring that is 6 pounds stiffer or something along those lines. Like it just has to be, just have to make it past their max weight capacity so that if it does rub, they're like, oh, we've tested, you're overweight,
It doesn't rub unless you're overweight.
There's another thing where they do this. They just lower the weight rating to whatever it doesn't rub at. And they're like, yeah, it's actually this.
Skinny tires. What if, I don't know what kind of tires they have on them. The article didn't say, but maybe some skinnies. Put some skinnies on them.
I remember when they released that they were doing this, we covered this one.
Chuck Holt says they could use a torch and mold the frame a little. I agree as well. I'm positive they have to go through crash testing again if they do that.
I'm pulling up the tire size calculator here real quick. The photo looks like it says 245, 75, 16. I'm going to pop that in here real quick. 245, 75, 16. That comes out to a 9.5 by 30.5. So that's already a pretty narrow tire. You can't get much narrower than that.
Tires. Dirt bike tires, maybe?
Yeah.
Some enduro tires put on there.
Side-by-side tires?
Yeah.
I don't know what they do. I
Yeah.
imagine they ignore it for as long as possible because it's not gonna do
We're
anything.
working on a fix. We'll let you know when it's done. Sorry, this
Well-
line's been discontinued.
According to TireSizeCalculator.com or TireSize.com, sorry, there is another tire similar in size, a 215/85/16. It's a tenth of an inch smaller overall, but it is narrower by 1.5 inches. So that means it's going to be just over a half inch narrower on the inside. So
Yep.
that might
Yeah,
do
but-
it.
But does that tire exist in like an all-terrain or anything, or is it like a trailer tire? You know,
A Turo, Ironman, Milestar, Kelly
Ooh,
tires,
all the big
Hankook.
brands. Oh, we got
Yeah.
Hankook in there. It's
Firestone, Yokohama, Kumo, General.
Are
Doesn't-
they
Does
they
Ford
all-terrain
do
tires?
business-
Yeah, they look like all-terrain tires.
Does Ford still do business with Firestone? I thought they learned. from
Cooper, BFG. Although that BFG doesn't look very off-road.
You got to think about it. Like, I liked your spacer idea, but it's going to be whatever's cheaper for Ford to do. A set of tires is
Yeah.
not cheap. I mean, front springs aren't cheap either, but it's going to be whatever it is. It's got to be cheap. Speaking of cheap, should we move on to this next article?
Yes, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
All right, this one came from Car and Driver. Now, this one's a little bit older, but it kind of just came to our attention. This is from kind of last fall. Factory 5 XTF reframes the truck conversation. That was a nice play on words. You'll see. The obvious answer to the Transit Raptor Edition long travel. I like that.
Yeah.
If it's a van, is it still a Raptor, or do they make that like a hard A
Duh.
there? Just saying, like a free candy situation. Anyways, got about 25,000 of extra cash and a late model Ford F-150. Well, then the Factory 5 Racing is the perfect project for you. This newest kit, it's called the XTF, and I have no idea what that stands for, but it sounds really cool. And it is transform a stock F-150 into what is basically a Baja 1000 truck, at least the frame. This requires building the truck from the frame up. Your idea of a proper suspension means 16 inches of travel up front and 20 inches in the rear. Then good news. This is perfect for you because the stock Ford frame is not wide enough or strong enough to do that. And for a reference, the Raptor R only has about 13 inches of travel up front and 14 in the rear. So this is more suspension travel than a Raptor R by a bit. The centerpiece of the XTF kit is an entirely new tube frame that replaces the stock ladder frame. Factory 5 claims the frame weighs 100 pounds more than the Ford item, but is nearly twice as strong, using 327 total feet of tubing. Installing it might not be as daunting as you think. Given that the 2015 and later F-150 cab is a self-contained unit, you just unbolt it, unplug the wiring harness, and pull it out of the way with an engine hoist or lift. The cab is watertight, so the XTF interior, who's short on, I'm not sure, that's a misspelling there, who's short on space, could leave it outside while working on the frame and suspension in the garage. So yeah, you could just pull your cab off, take it out of the shop, leave it in the elements for the winter while you're doing the whole frame swap situation.
It says intender, so maybe they're saying, so if you're intending to do this, you could just like leave it laying around.
I don't think intender's a word, but
I don't either. We're gonna
go
roll
there
with it.
Yeah. The $24,990 kit is intended for the 2015 220 F-150 4x4 with the 5-liter V8 or turbocharged 3.5-liter V6. The newer models have changes that make the Factory 5 kit incompatible. You'll need to have a crew cab with the 5.5 foot bed and the 26-gallon fuel tank. And yes, the ideal pre-trunner truck would obviously be a two-wheel drive with a V8. But since nobody bought those, they're trying to just do it for the most popular models, essentially. And the actual XTF kit that is being showcased at Factory 5 right now just, was a regular family truck that came out of Michigan. Nothing special. Other than now, it could take on a Raptor R with flared fenders, 37-inch tires, and anything more than a cursory look, the tube frame will give it away. But with the welded lattice work peeking out from below, the rocker panels leading back to the 4-link coil spring rear suspension with towering remote reservoir Fox dampers, the bed is aluminum, so on. This truck is mostly filled by the the aluminum bed is mostly filled by the optional spare tire. The mount goes for $199. The fiberglass fenders are part of the kit and inflate the XTF to a yawning 90 inches of width, 3 inches wider than a Raptor R. Consequently, the hood, grill, and tailgate are all Factory 5 items as well. For $6,990, the body components are available in a clear coat carbon fiber, which left unpainted might not be that far off the cost of paint matching fiberglass panels to the cab. I would actually want to know who in the world is doing their painting if it costs $6,000 to match a hood and front fenders to a cab. But that's they have better painter than I do, apparently.
Yeah, wow.
But that is kind of boy math. Like, I guess I should get the carbon fiber because, it's like it's a wash after painting the glass. So the nose panel is carbon fiber no matter what. Other options include rear anti-roll bar for $465 and a tow package for $675. The latter includes more than a hitch, bringing the axle limiting straps and a panhard rod into the equation to tame the torsionist rear suspension during towing. The Factory 5 XTF, something there got added or not deleted. If you got the got the mechanical skills, the XTF, the heck just happened here? My screen just moved. The XTF kit is an intriguing value proposition. For about the price of a Raptor, you could build a truck with far wilder looks, more capability, while maintaining the stock Ford interior amenities and powertrain reliability. Hiring someone to build it will likely add nearly $20,000, but when the time comes to register, insure, or finance the truck, it's just an F-150 with a factory VIN rather than a home-built kit car. Of course, Raptors are also upgraded under the hood, but easy mods are there for the taking. This EcoBoost truck included a low restriction intake and exhaust that gave it a Ford GT soundtrack, and Factory 5 is already building a supercharged V8 truck to see what happens when 700 or so horsepower join the party. Have you talked the wife into this yet, Aaron? She's got the right truck, right?
She has the right truck, except we've got too long of a bed. So it says you need to 5.5, and we got the 6.5 foot bed.
I'm sure you could work it out.
Find a bed. Yeah. And we've also got the wrong fuel tank. So we're going to need a fuel tank or cell. You just put a fuel cell in there.
So I went on their website, and fully outfitted, the kit costs that's carbon fiber panel upgrade and all the extras. It was $34,760.
That isn't that much for a completely custom frame and all the parts and pieces to have something better than a Raptor R. Well,
Yeah.
what I assume is better. I mean, you aren't going to have the engine performance of a Raptor R, but that's a turbo kit and a tune away if you got the 3.5.
It's unclear to me how much of the suspension is included with this and or shocks. I mean, shocks like that could be $5,000 super easily, if not more. So I'm not sure what's included.
I want to cut back real quick to the width. It said it was 90 inches wide.
I think it was 93.
Where was that at?
90.
I'm trying to find it.
It's 90.
90 inches wide. The H1 Hummer was 86.5 inches wide.
So I do have to run the Raptor lights so that I have the wide clearance lights. Then, like
Correct.
even though it's not a Raptor, I have to run the Raptor lights.
Yeah.
Yep, you'll have to run Raptor lights. You get
I
you
like
maybe
it.
get the Toyota ones, so you have 4 of them instead of 3.
Yeah.
You'd be different.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. I think this is an amazing value is the right word I think I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
And the fact that you could do this at home, you just pull things off and put things back on, it shouldn't be too tough.
Yeah.
If you can engine swap something, you can do this.
Leroy Engineering pointed out the welds being so clean.
He also said that you probably need to move that remote reservoir hose in that last photo. It looks like it's rubbing on the chassis there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great value. I'm not the Go Fast Desert guy though, so it's only appealing to me in the sense that you could have some super sweet long travel business, but you just really have to have the right place to take this. You need the dunes. You need some place with lots of sand.
Living in like Reno would be awesome for this.
Oh yeah.
I would just love to see someone in California like do all the stuff to this, and then they got to go do their smog whatever test where they make sure everything's like stock and kosher, and like it's got a VIN, passes emissions. Dude just glances underneath. It's like, what? It's just all tube frame.
Yeah. Still the same truck. Yeah, you got to buy tires and stuff too, so it is really going to add up. But to have better performance than the Raptor R is a big deal.
To just take an F-150 to a shop and be like, hey, I need this all done up, is going to be like $100,000. So
yeah, I am surprised they use square tube. I was expecting when I heard tube frame for it to be round, but I don't know any different. So I just don't know. You guys ready for the main topic?
I'm ready for the main topic.
Let's do it. So this week we're talking about preparing for wheeling season. Or
For you fair
guess
weather wheelers.
I guess it's prepping for wheeling season is the actual title of the show. So we got something going on in the comments here. Somebody's going to hire somebody's daughter to do some welding because they can do better welding than the welds in the picture. So that's exciting. Someone's got a career in welding coming up. Just has to move to Ohio. All right, Coy, why don't you kick it off here? You kind of put in this little first chunk, and then we're going to just hit some bullet points and sections and work our way through this. And at the very end, after we're done talking about rigs, we'll pop in a little bit and talk about trailers, since I clearly had to fix my trailer before wheeling season.
yeah, so prepare for seasonal differences is the kind of what this is starting out at. Maybe your wheeling season is winter, so like this summer is your off season. I don't know, but some of us kind of wheel somewhat year round, so prepare for seasonal differences. So in the spring, a lot of mud and runoff. It gets a little swampy out there depending on what part of the country, so on and so forth that you're in. But here in the Northwest, swap that snow shovel out for just a standard spade. Snow shovel, if you ever use it in the mud, man, not cool, bro. Straight up, not a good time. Maybe carry an extra or carry a pair of rubber boots, stick them in the back there somewhere. I've been in some mud holes where I really wished I had a pair of rubber boots. I've been in a few where I wished I had waders, honestly. Maybe a couple rolls of paper towels. I've made the mistake of I try to keep wet wipes or something in my cab now, but where you get stuck, you get to, your mud up to your elbows, hooking up some recovery equipment, and then you go to jump back in your truck and you just, cover the interior in mud, which is fine depending on what vehicle you are in. But if it's your daily driver too, you probably don't want to just cover the interior in mud. So wet wipes, maybe some paper towels or something, make sure you got that. Time to take off the snow tires and put your summer or off-roading tires on. A lot of people, especially in the eastern half of the United States, run a dedicated winter tire. Those generally absolutely are horrid in mud. So something like that. throw a couple folded up trash bags somewhere in your truck. It's really nice to. You all right, Aaron?
I'm just AK Ford fan
Oh.
says I always pack waders. I've been over the top a couple times. That's a serious mud hole.
You're cooler than me. I give you that. AK Ford fan. He drives that cool Bronco. I seen a video of it or something. Maybe he wrote to us. I don't remember. I know he drives some kind of cool. Oh, he's going to be in Moab same time we are.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, man. Can't wait to
Yeah.
see you there.
he's gonna buy us dinner.
Yeah. He's buying us dinner and rounds at the bar. I heard. So he's a generous man. So
Yeah, super excited to meet him.
it's nice to keep a couple trash bags. Honestly, that's kind of almost a year-round thing. You can use them to pick up trash, but sometimes, especially if you have an SUV, you've covered all your recovery gear in mud. Just be able to throw it in a trash can before you get home. Or I mean, sorry, not trash can, trash bag before you get home is nice. And this is one, at least in the Northwest where I'm in, bug repellent for the spring, man. You get up in the mountains and there are swarms of man-eating mosquitoes that will carry you away. Like it will ruin your day and weekend. It ruins everything. I hate it. And then summer, fire season, another seasonal difference. Depending on where you're at, maybe it's already summer there. You're someplace where it's warm already. It's been all winter. Throw a thing of sunscreen in there. I think we've all been out there where you can feel the burn happening and you realize you're just going to have to eat it. Like you're just going to be burnt. It's noon. You can feel the red on your ears.
Honestly, in spring, it's not a bad idea to pack that sunscreen, especially if you're going through some of that spring snow, that sun reflecting back at you. When I was a Boy Scout doing a hike around Mount St. Helens, I got sunburn from the sun hitting the snow on the ground, and I got sunburn on my eyelids because I didn't have my sunglasses. It sucked. Sunscreen's good.
Sunscreen, you're going to want to carry extra water for you to drink. It's just nice to have. And then for fire season, the big four are a gallon jug of water, and that's not a gallon of water. It needs to be a gallon jug of water, something that holds 1 gallon at once, not 90 water bottles. An extinguisher, an axe, and a shovel. Those are like the 4 things you should have in the Northwest. In fact, there are times of the year where if you're in the mountains without those, you can get a ticket. So
I like to just bring a 5-gallon bucket because you can do a lot with a bucket or in a bucket.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to bring a bucket. Sunglasses and or brimmed hat in the summertime, especially if something happens where you're just going to be sitting out there and there's not shade, especially like many men have converted to solar power up top. So I don't like to wear a hat, but in the summertime, man, sometimes you just got to wear one or you'll just peel all the skin off the top of your skull. And then sunglasses, sometimes they end up coming out of the car in the winter. In the spring, you're not using them. And maybe it's your wheeling rig. You don't run it all the time. Then you go out, you don't have your sunglasses. So something to check on. Ben, you want to burn through some more of this checklist?
Yeah, let's start off with checking your tires. I am the local tire expert here, right?
Yes.
Yes. So inspect that tread depth and condition. I mean, look for chunking and all that. Might be a good time to replace your tires if they're chunked out. Look for some weather checking or deep cuts. It's a good time to rotate them. You should realistically be rotating your tires every other oil change at least. Consider upgrading your tires if needed. Don't worry. Also don't forget to check that full size spare. Really sucks when you go to put that spare tire on and there's no air in it and you did not bring your air compressor or it broke. Is your
emphasis on the full size?
Full size, yes. You should have a full size matching spare. Check your tire wear. See if you've got some cupping going on. Could be, you need to replace some tie rod ends or something. The sooner you notice that, the sooner that you get that part fixed, and you don't need to replace your tires a whole lot earlier.
So you said the sooner you notice that your tie rod is worn than the. What if like one of your friends notices it's worn and warns you months ahead of time.
You actually listen to your friend and do not ignore your friend.
This is checking. Like,
Because they're looking out for your best interests. They really are.
AK Ford fan says, "What if my spare is bald?"
hey, there's nothing wrong with bald. Okay, some of us
bald is beautiful.
bald actually means it's more burly. It's so much testosterone that it actually, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
If your spare is bald, you need to get one of those tire groovers and put some tread back on it, or a good Sharpie.
Honestly, if it's a used tire, and it's a trail spare, it's got some damage and whatnot. If it's good enough to get you off the trail, that's great. But you still should be checking that it's got air in it. It holds air. It's gonna get you off the trail. That's the important part. As long as it's good enough to get off the trail.
Bald tires work at Moab.
Ask Aaron. He knows.
I know.
Yeah.
bald isn't a strong enough word. There's not enough letters in that.
Yeah.
Like, you had racing slicks. Like, I've seen dragsters. I've seen rear engine dragsters with more tread than those tires have.
Yeah, that's why going down whatever that pass in Colorado that's super scary in the rain wasn't as easy for me as it was for you, because I lacked traction.
I was like riding shotgun. My wife was driving it, and I was like, "This is boring." You're like, "It was sketchy." I thought it was sketchy. I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, because I didn't have any tread on my tires, so
You're fine.
yeah, it was great in Moab. It was hot. We went from 107 degrees to 56 and drizzly rain. So
Well,
yeah.
Leroy Overlanding says, "Assume when I use my spare, I'm headed off the trail, not deeper into the woods." That's maybe you Easterners, okay, but this here in the West.
Yeah, if you lost your spare due to a route, you don't want to end the trip there. Let's see. Oh yeah, and don't forget to replace that winter air with summer air. Really, it's just check your tire pressure, especially if it's like daily driving rig, and you don't have TPMS sensors, because you need dummy lights to know your tire pressure. I like to check my tire pressure pretty regularly. Actually noticed in my 4Runner, it was a little low on one tire, and it was one of my good ones, and I kind of want to keep that one good for a while.
So one of my good
One
ones.
of your good ones, Ben.
Well, I've got two that are cupped that need replaced, and then the two in the back are good, but one was a little low on air. So.
Gotcha. All right. Well, the next one here is to inspect your suspension. So you're going to check for any signs of wear or damage. This includes your shocks, your springs, your bushings, and your control arms. You also should be checking your steering linkage, tie rods, and your steering gearbox for any wear and tightness. Have you guys ever checked your steering linkage for tightness?
Yes, every time I drive down the road and make sure that I don't have death wobble.
Okay, I guess that could be one way to do it. And then once again, I like to throw this in there. Consider upgrading your suspension components. It's always something to consider. Always something. I mean, Ben considered it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, my tie rods I need to replace them. I'm thinking I just go to long travel front end. Like I'll do like a 3.5 long travel. Just if I have to replace my tie rods, I might as well. Yeah.
They're right behind Ben on the ground. Look at that. He's got his coilovers just waiting.
They're just waiting. Actually, I talked to Henry. He's going to help me do them. Turning him.
Are you just looking for somebody else to blame for not tightening the bolts when the tire comes off again?
No, actually, I'm hoping that he'll put them on there. Then I'll check for tightness, and because I won't be tired.
This can only end well. Anyways, let's move on, guys. Evaluate brakes. So obviously brakes are pretty important, no matter what kind of wheeling you do, with the exception of maybe like Baja stuff. I have never seen those guys hit their brakes. They just throw it sideways and scrub off some speed, but most of us aren't that. So inspect your brake pads and rotors for wear, and hopefully there's quite a bit of wear because they're brakes, so there should be. But make sure there's still enough pad and that your rotor's not absolutely paper thin, and you can see the actual cooling veins through the surface of it or something.
Or big
Ensure,
cracks,
yeah,
cracks,
large
or
cracks.
like discoloration,
Yep.
like a
Check
clutch.
your brake fluid levels. A lot of modern cars will actually tell you when it's low, but maybe you could notice it before it's actually low. And also check it for color. Sometimes they absorb a bunch of water and stuff.
Yeah, you should really check your brake fluid. Speaking from experience, you don't want to drive off of a mountain with no brakes. It's not fun.
Also, I highly recommend, like, if you know your system's leaking, don't just buy like a extra large bottle of brake fluid and go on the trip anyways. Like, that's pretty pertinent thing to have functional as your brakes. Almost more important than the motor in some ways. Some would
The
say.
good news about like your brakes, if your fluid is low, there's a reason. It's because it's leaked out somewhere. It doesn't like get burned up in the engine, so you'll be able to find. You just have to look for wet spots in the braking system, and you'll find them, and then you know where you have an issue. So,
And
kind
they
of tells you.
Not before you come home.
They can be a fire hazard as well to have that leaking. So also consider brake pad, rotor, and fluid upgrade. Not really going to upgrade fluid, but you know, there's better pads sometimes that you can switch to, and rotors.
Yep. And
You can
replace-
upgrade your fluid to a different dot number, and it has a higher boiling point for bigger usage and things like that.
It's not, yeah, but it's not necessarily an upgrade unless you're like racing it. It actually lasts less for you possibly, but unless you're the higher dot, essentially the higher in dot fluid you go, the more water that's able to absorb like straight out of the air. So it's not particularly an upgrade unless you're changing it all the time.
Gotcha. That's something I didn't know.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's in my mind for some reason.
Yep. Let's go on this next one. Inspecting your chassis and body grease fittings. If you've got them, lubricating moving parts such as drive shafts, U-joints, suspension components to prevent premature wear and ensure smooth operation. I know like the 4th gen 4Runners, I believe Koi's yours does the drive shaft. We need to lubricate that fairly regularly. It's got one of those grease zerks. I know my upper control arms. I've got, I want to say 8 of them that I have like a checklist that when I do an oil change, I go through and I just check them with the grease gun and make sure they've got some grease in there.
I've been fake greasing my equipment at work so long. I just get a blob of grease on my finger and hit all the zerks with it underneath, so it looks like I greased it.
No. Oh my goodness.
It provides the same amount of comfort. Like I feel like I greased it that way. It's the same difference.
Inspect your undercarriage for leaks, damage, loose components. Off-road driving can expose the vehicle to rocks, branches, and other obstacles that can damage the undercarriage. Unplug transmission position sensors and other things. Check the bolts.
Ben, I gotta say, I did not like write this article to like pinpoint you at all. I promise I did not put like words and things in here to like bring up events that
I
you've
swear
had.
you're just like you picked me for the things that I should be doing.
I just put
last
people
time,
in. No, I just put people in at random here. So
let's see. Check your bolts on your skid plates. You want to make sure those are good and tight and not loose. You don't want to lose your skid plate on the trail or have it come loose, catch a rock, and damage other things.
mine's come off on the trail.
Did it come off on the front or the back and drag?
It came off.
Oh, it just came completely off. Okay.
Off. I hit a rock that was taller than I thought in the middle of the trail, an easy trail, by the way. And I just kept driving. Coy's like, "You gonna stop and pick that up?"
Pretty sure there's a picture of me blacksmithing it back into a shape we could put back on the truck somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, there definitely is.
Let's see. Touch up paint on bumpers, sliders, undercarriage parts. Probably once or twice a year I go through and hit my sliders with fresh paint. Just because they rub on even just branches, scratches off the paint. They're not powder coated or anything fancy like that. So Let's see. Clean out debris that may have accumulated. That
Have you guys
includes
ever had like a bunch of stuff on your skid plates, like leaves and
I've-
branches? Collect?
mud, clay, in my radiator too.
Every time I go to change my oil, I dump all that into my eyes, and then that's how I get it out. So
Eric says, "Wait till you get to the part where he wrote about bringing soil to fill in the ditches."
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Snap that body panel back on unless it's unlucky to do so. Because I'm still missing that rear fender. It's sitting up on the shelf over there. I'm afraid to put it back on because I know another one will come off.
Yep. All right, your four-wheel drive system. So, if your truck's been sitting all winter, if you aren't a winter wheeler, it's a good time to test to make sure it works before you go out. While I was down in Florence, I saw on Facebook in one of the Oregon off-road recovery groups, there was a guy up not too far from me, up in the woods, and he's like, I was up here wheeling and realized my four-wheel drive didn't work, and now I'm in a predicament and I can't get out. The guy was driving a Kia, so take that with a grain of salt, but it is important to make sure you're testing
Borrego or
that.
Sorrento?
Sorrento, yeah.
The I know like the Toyotas, like the 4Runners, and the Tacomas with the electric actuate 4-wheel drive systems. That's one you should be doing at least once a month. Engage it, disengage it, because that fork likes to get stuck because you're not manually moving it. It's an actuator.
Yeah.
And they get sticky and it sucks trying to get it unstuck and stuck. I do mine probably once a week. I just throw it in the 4-wheel drive down the street and turn it off. I do it on my way to work. It's not that hard.
Sucks. I just grab this lever. It has like a J pattern, and then unless I like lose an arm, so I just pull it down and then it goes into 4. But that's just me. It's me.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is test the lockers, make sure that they're locking, and then check your fluids to make sure you got proper levels in your differentials, front and rear. Maybe smell your tranny fluid, smell if it's burnt, things like that. That's part of your drivetrain maintenance.
if
Aaron
you were-
would definitely smell tranny fluid.
If you do a bunch of mud and all that, it's probably a good time. Mud and water crossings. It might be a good time to go and do a differential fluid swap, a drain and fill.
You're kind of cutting into the next. You're cutting into the next one here, Ben. You just gotta pump the.
That's
pump the-
4-wheel drive, though. I said differentials.
I did, but
Let's jump into
drivetrain
drivetrain
maintenance.
You're going to want to inspect your engine oil or just change it, transmission fluid, coolant levels, so on and so forth. Obviously, coolant levels are important. And once again, it doesn't just kind of burn off on its own unless you have a head gasket issue. So if it's low, or I should say very, actually pretty low. Ben, once again, this is not picking on
Not picking on Ben here.
This is just maintenance things. A head gasket could happen to anybody. It clearly happens to people, as you know.
Yes.
So
Everything happens to me.
so you're going to want to check that, and again, color and so on and so forth. Transmission fluid. A lot of the new Toyotas have a sealed transmission fluid. There's no way to track it. So stop looking. If you have a Toyota made after, 2010, stop looking for the dipstick. It doesn't exist. Just believe that it's good. Top off, replace fluids as needed. Straighten and blow out the fins in your radiators. That is something that does definitely get overlooked, especially if you do a lot of mudding. A lot of farmers and loggers and construction workers. That's a thing. You do have to just take a light pressure wash to your radiator every so often and get that stuff blown out of there. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, sitting behind Aaron in Nevada really dirtied up mine.
Don't have to change it if you're always topping it off.
You got to go faster.
Replace air filters, check your air filter, replace your air filter, so on and so forth. If you're Ben, You don't have to do that because he has a pre-cleaner, and he will empty it on his hood and show you how much dust he saved his air filter every single night. I love it. I find it. I actually look forward to Ben emptying it out like a Kirby vacuum salesman on a hood of his truck.
Look what I got in my pre-filter today, guys. Ugh, that's not
He's
in my
so
engine.
excited about it the whole time. Check hoses to your remote location diff breathers. Those can pop off. Definitely seen those just hanging.
Yes.
Yeah, that's worse than just having the stock ones. Consider upgrading your radiator if needed. If you're having a lot of heat problems, there's no shame in upgrading it. Or even just sometimes those things can get kind of gummed up in there, and sometimes they just actually need replaced.
They're pretty cheap too. I mean, you can get them inexpensively, or you can spend a lot of money like on an all aluminum one, but radiators aren't that bad.
Yep.
I've been told that they are a consumable part on a vehicle too, like a water pump, things like that. You can only clean it so many times before you want to swap it out.
Yeah. Starts catching more and more gunk. Let's see. Talking about more and more gunk. Performing vehicle. I can't say that specific. Yeah, there we go. Specific maintenance. Follow the manufactured recommendation for service intervals and address any known issues or recalls. Don't pretend that those issues are not issues. And some of those recalls, like trimming your floor mats, are stupid. So don't bother with those. But, ones that are important, like your Ford ones, are very important to go get taken care of.
Also, let's talk about the electrical stuff. So you want to test your headlights, your taillights, your turn signals. You don't want to get pulled over coming to and from the trail because you got some lights out. It's one thing to break those lights on the trail and then have to explain it to the officer that you're just on your way home from wheeling. But if you can, check them, fix them ahead of time. Check your battery connections and condition, maybe even top off the fluid in there. Make sure you use distilled water. You don't want the minerals messing up your batteries.
Yeah.
And then
clean those. Clean the battery connections too. That one's one that got me.
Shocker.
Yeah, very.
I would have never guessed that maybe you would have had battery problems. And the last thing is make sure all that janky wiring you did is tucked away nicely with zip ties or in a wire loom. If you got time, fix it, straighten it up, zip tie it to things.
I gotta read something in the comments. Eric Hoover says, "Is there a way to test your airbags?" Travis says, "There is, but you won't like it."
That's amazing. Yeah, I did not like testing my airbags. That's for sure.
They work good though, right?
Sure.
No, sorry, that was
the ones.
Sometimes there's some just gold in the comments, and we gotta stop and just be like, I have to give Travis his due on that.
The live group is great.
I also want to point out. I was pointed out too, I guess I should say, on a wheeling trip once that my tags were over a year expired. The DMV doesn't always send you a notice, let you know you should buy new ones. And I don't really check. Like I wait for the DMV to tell me mine are bad. Or sometimes I wait for a police officer to let me know they're bad. It's not really my kind of thing. I don't even run a front plate, so I never would look from the front. Wouldn't matter. And I just I'm not behind my own vehicle a lot. So, sometimes those tags, and then also check your state off-road permit. Most states, at least on the West Coast, have an off-road permit. They go bad, I think, every 2 years here in Oregon. And a lot of times they're not compatible with other states. I buy them every so often, but make sure that's good. Review your recovery gear. Ensure that you have necessary recovery equipment, such as toe straps, shackles, and or high lift jack. And then take your high lift jack off and put it with your farm equipment like it should be. Inspect all of your recovery equipment, your ropes, so on and so forth, and verify that your winch is in working order. I cannot explain how many times I've been on the trail and people's winches didn't work. I'm actually I'm not surprised even when they're like, I can't get my winch to work. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like I've seen it so many times. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I've had I went to use my winch and my controller was the problem. It was damaged because of how I was wrapping up the controller when I wasn't using it, the cord itself. And also take the time to clean your recovery equipment if you've used it, like your winch line. Run it through some soapy water, rinse it out, because all that mud in there with your synthetic cable, if you're running synthetic, all the mud and dirt in there will break it down, and you could have your winch line snapping at a bad time.
That applies to kinetic ropes as well. I usually at least once a year, to the dismay of my wife, I fill up the tub, throw my rope in there, and then like every day throughout the week, I walk in there and I shake it around, move it a whole bunch, and then it'll just turn the water brown. I'll drain it, fill it back up, come back the next day, stir it all around. She really likes it when I do that. And then, sorry, Leroy says Eep sounds like she's really grown. Eep is the name of my dog. I don't think that barking was on my end.
No, it's my neighbor's dog right on the other side of my fence, and I'm gonna have to go outside and yell at it.
Okay. Well, you got to do this next one first.
Oh yeah, I'll do this next one. Stock up on essentials like food, water, first aid supplies. Those are all perishables. Your first aid supplies can go bad. Make sure you're checking dates on that. Maybe update what food you have in your rig. Maybe get some fresh taco sauce. Get that survival pack.
The mild sauce.
Order that new Taco Bell survival kit.
Yeah, get that Taco Bell survival kit. And include your emergency tools such as a shovel, tire repair kit. Make sure you've got all that packed up and you know where it is. Because if you're digging through and you have to rip apart your rig to find your recovery gear or your survival kit or your first aid kit, it's kind of not so handy. Same goes for your fire extinguisher. And if you've got a CO2 filled fire extinguisher, hit it with a hammer. Make sure you break up because that stuff likes to pack together. So shake
Clumps,
break up the clumps. That way you get the full use out of it.
All right. If you
You're not wrong, Eric. You're not wrong.
If you camp while you are out wheeling, you might want to check over your camping gear, which might mean opening up your tent and making sure all the I think you're right, Coy. Opening up your tent and making sure the poles are all there. Gather up your kitchen parts. I am super guilty of, after having a wheeling camping trip, bringing pots and pans and utensils into the house, and then they get cleaned, and then they get set aside, and they don't make it back out. So I don't know about you, Coy, if you have any of those issues or not, but
I am guilty of not doing almost every single thing on this list. I'm just being honest. I've skipped. I've not done a lot of the stuff I should have done many times. So, and Ben clearly more than me, but still,
not wrong.
I'm as guilty as anybody of not checking their oil before they leave on a trip. It's just things you don't always think of.
I've never had oil issues. It's usually been cool.
Oh, Ben, you said that out loud. Why would you?
Wait, there's wood. Lots of wood around here.
Knock on it quick.
Yep, knocked on.
All right. Well, Aaron, you better start packing more extra oil because I only bring a quart and it's synthetic, which I'm sure Ben doesn't run. So
no, I run synthetic and I've got 2 quarts. I keep 2 quarts in.
Okay. Well. Trailer maintenance, guys. Obviously, trailer maintenance is something that you need to do, which I actually need to do right now. My main trailer still has the brakes absolutely smoked from my Moab trip when I locked the brakes up.
Yeah,
I didn't think about this, but this could also apply to the trailer that you might load your wheeler onto.
It
I kind of made this list.
Definitely doesn't
for
have to be
your
just
camp
a
trailer.
camp trailer. It can be your tow rig trailer or whatever you want to call it. Not everybody that listens to the show is probably like us that has the overland style build. Hopefully there's some real wheelers on here as well. You're going to want to check your wheel bearings regularly for wear and proper lubrication. That is probably 90% of your trailer maintenance is your wheel bearings. Like that's by far the most important. And if you could stay on top of that, you won't be the trailer on the side of the road with the wheel off of it, driving around trying to figure out how to get another trailer to drag that trailer onto to take it home. Inspect trailer tires for proper inflation, tread wear, and damage, especially if you don't store your trailer inside. The sun is probably the sun and use of tire is the number one killers of tires, and the sun will ruin a tire quicker than you think from just sitting in one spot. If equipped with brakes, inspect brake pads, rotors, brake lines regularly. Adjust and replace brake components as needed. That's honestly pretty, if you're using your trailer properly, the brakes last a long time, so it's not super big issue, but still something you do need to keep an eye on. Inspect trailer suspension systems, including leaf spring shocks, suspension bushings, for signs of wear or damage. Ensure all trailer lights, including trailer brakes, turn signals, tail lights, are functioning properly. I have problems with that occasionally. I hate trailer lights.
My father-in-law's pop-up, like there's always one light that is always malfunctioning in that thing.
Yeah, it's always a fight, dude. And in my day job, I'm constantly, and it's like, is it the plug on the truck? Is it the trailer? Do we put this on? Like, it's just the more you use a trailer, it seems like the more you have the light issues. Check electrical connections and wiring harness for corrosion or damage. Inspect trailer coupler and hitch receiver for signs of wear or damage. Lubricate moving parts and ensure proper engagement between trailer and tow vehicle. And also noticed if you put your 2 5/16 ball on, or your 2-inch ball,
or your 1 7/8.
Yeah, if you have a trailer, I try to run 2-inch ball on everything I have so that I don't have this problem. But I've seen it happen multiple times where they have the 2-inch ball on, they back up their trailer that takes 2 5/16, and it doesn't take long before you're dragging a trailer down the road. It's not very good for trailers or the back of your truck. Check safety chains for proper attachment and condition. Also, your breakaway, if it's a trailer big enough that needs a breakaway, it should not be connected to your safety chain. It needs to connect to the truck directly. When your trailer comes off and that's hooked to the safety chain, a lot of times it doesn't actually engage it. So that's
I wrap mine in the chain. Like I wrap it like once around the chain and then to the vehicle. That should be good enough, right?
You should just go straight to the vehicle. Should be independent of the chains.
Oh, okay. I better fix that then next time.
I mean, if everything rips free, you want that breakaway device to be still attached to the vehicle, so it yanks the thing, engages the batteries. Although, does your trailer actually have that? Is it big enough to have?
My Rockwood does. My Rockwood does. Okay.
It's fancy. Yeah, you want it separate so that it doesn't actually, like if the trailer falls and it's hooked to the chain and it like pinches it off, and then then it doesn't pull it. So you want to kind of have that separate from everything. Or you want to run one not at all, is where I'm kind of leaning now after mine got accidentally pulled. Inspect trailer undercarriage for damage, corrosion, or loose components. See, Aaron did that preemptively and got good there. And inspect trailer frame and body for signs of rust, cracks, or structural weaknesses. Remove dirt, mud, and debris that can accumulate during off-road trips. This helps prevent corrosion and prolongs the life of the trailer components. And if you have a trailer that you're loading something up on and it has jack stands for the back of the trailer that you have to run up and down when you load and unload things, go ahead and run those up and down and see if they work. Like that's over winter, that stuff can rust up solid in there.
Montana Dirt Road says anything larger than a single axle utility trailer is required to have a breakaway. Your state, your laws may vary. A lot of states do it by weight or size. In Oregon, you don't even have to have lights. You don't even have to register your trailer or have lights on it if it's under a certain size. So
Under a
Kinda-
certain size, and you can see the lights on your
certainly,
vehicle.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it can't just be blocking all the lights of the tow
And
vehicle.
you would be surprised how many trailers weigh under 1,800 pounds. Like a lot of Oregon's trailers, at least for
Most of them.
they have a max capacity of 1,800 pounds, and they don't run plates or insurance or anything on them.
I just read that. I just read that law. I read up on that law last week, and it's a that's the gross vehicle weight also. So that's the loaded weight. It's not the unloaded weight. So
Yes, my dad has a large, or had a large, pretty good sized 2-axle trailer. It would, if it had a rating, it had to have been 8,000 to 10,000 pound.
Yeah.
gross weight. A cop pulled him over because he didn't have any plate. But the first thing cop walked up to the window and was like, "Hey, how much do you think that trailer weighs?" And he literally had like 2 yards of rock in it. And my dad just straight up was like, 1,800 pounds. Just weighed it on the scale.
just wait it.
Cop like looked at him, looked at the rock, was like, "Come on, man," and he's like, $1,800. I'll tell you, he just went.
I don't know what to tell you. Good night.
He is definitely
Yeah.
your father, isn't he?
Yeah. I like what Leroy says. He says, make sure your dad didn't take the plate off and use it on a different trailer so you don't get a ticket. So, yeah, make sure those plates are on there if they're supposed to be on there.
I had somebody do that to a dump truck I was driving one time, and then I got pulled through the scales, and turns out they can tell when a plate doesn't belong to the truck you're driving immediately.
no.
And the Waymaster has
no.
that you absolutely don't have the answer to. It was super nice of a fleet manager company I work for to do that. All right, guys, next week it is the hypothetical Copart vehicle purchase / road trip. So we're doing one of our hypothetical road trips again, guys. But we got to go
Going to Texas. We're
So
heading
we
to
got-
Texas. We're coming to see you, Eric.
Yeah, it's gonna be hot, and we're gonna get a totaled vehicle.
Yep, we're gonna have a hootenanny.
We burned through all the money that Toby willed us, and now we're buying auction cars. So,
Buy crashed auction vehicles in
Yeah,
Texas. Eric,
deep-
we might need to use your driveway to do some of these repairs. So
yeah, we gotta actually go through this entire list on these things and a little more, because somebody tested the airbags in these vehicles.
yeah. All right. That's exciting. Well, thank you everybody who listens to us weekly, and also to those who watch us live on YouTube. Eric says we'll meet at Buc-ee's. That is a fabulous idea. We could work
I
on in the
love it.
parking lot of Buc-ee's. We appreciate you guys. We had a really strong comment section tonight. It's a lot of fun having you guys there. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends, helping us grow, and God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Colby Valve and 4 Patriots to see all of their great products. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our Linktree account or by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, and be safe and courteous. Thanks for listening.
There it
I've
is,
got
folks.
four-
Koi's the winner.
I've got 4 seconds of video to show you just how much fun I had fishing.
Get off my finger, homie.
That was the downpour we were experiencing while fishing. Very fun.
Did I hear someone yell, "Get off my finger, homie"?
It was a very good possibility. Those kids were having fun.